When my grandmother passed away, she left me a house deep in the Vermont woods, a place I'd only visited once as a child but could never completely forget, though my memories of it were strangely foggy, like fragments of someone else's dream. Red wallpaper that seemed to breathe, a cold room full of mismatched mirrors, and the unsettling feeling of being watched even while alone. When I was handed the deed, a part of me recoiled. Not just emotionally but physically, like something deep in my body knew better than to go back, yet duty or curiosity, or maybe guilt, compelled me to drive there, up winding back roads as October leaves turned gray and brittle, the woods growing thicker until the GPS gave up and the dirt road became little more than a trail. When I finally saw the house, it didn't rise up from the trees so much as appear between them, squat and silent, with its sagging porch and boarded windows giving it a look of cautious patience, like it had been waiting, and though the front door was locked with a rusted padlock, the key from the envelope turned easily, the hinges groaning like something disturbed from a long slumber. The smell hit me first, damp, earthy, like mold and memory, and stepping inside was like walking backward through time. Everything was old but intact, dust-covered yet deliberate, the red wallpaper still clinging in patches, curling like skin, and an oil painting hung above the staircase showing my grandmother in her youth. Except I was in it too. Standing behind her with one hand on her shoulder, older than I am now, smiling in a way I didn't recognize. I told myself it was coincidence, a trick of resemblance, but the unease crept in like a draft, especially when I remembered the handwritten note from my grandmother. "Don't stay after dark." Words I had laughed at earlier now echoed in my head as the sky outside shifted from pale gray to deep blue far too quickly, as if the day had jumped ahead. I told myself I'd just take a look around, get some closure, and leave, but the house had other ideas. Hallways seemed longer than they should be, and some rooms weren't where I remembered them, if they had ever existed at all, and it wasn't long before I began to hear things. The soft scrape of something under the floorboards, whispering voices muffled like they were underwater, and the creaking of footsteps in the attic above me even though I was alone. When I finally found the room full of mirrors, the memories came rushing back. Not just flashes but full sensations. The icy air, the way the mirrors never reflected quite right, showing slightly different versions of me. Some older, some younger, one with black eyes and a crooked grin. And when I turned to leave, every mirror showed a soaking wet girl behind me, hair plastered to her face, dress dripping like she had just climbed from a river. I remembered her then, not fully, but enough, her name lost, her face blurry. But I had played with her once that summer, and then she was gone, and my grandmother told me her family moved in the night. But that wasn't true, not entirely, and the girl's mouth moved in the glass, whispering, "You forgot." Just as every light in the room went out at once, plunging me into total blackness. I stumbled backward, flashlight flickering as the house began to moan and shift, doors slamming, walls stretching like they were breathing, and when I finally found the stairs to the attic, I didn't remember climbing them, but there I was, standing in front of a heavy trapdoor that opened by itself with a screech. Inside was cold and wrong. Wooden floorboards warped into strange spirals, an old chest in the corner that thudded as if something inside was trying to get out, and behind me, a mirror larger than any I'd seen before, tall enough to step through. And in it I saw the girl standing beside a much younger me, both of us staring at my reflection, unmoving. I turned and ran, but the hallway below had changed. Longer, curved. The wallpaper now peeling to reveal black mold beneath, and every door I tried led to the same room. A nursery, pale blue, with a rocking chair swaying slowly on its own, and a mobile spinning above an empty crib while a lullaby played softly from nowhere. I finally found a basement door where there hadn't been one, and against all instincts I opened it, descending into a space that grew colder and damper with each step until I stood before an old stone well surrounded by children's toys. One wet shoe, a stuffed fox, a tiny plastic crown, and though I didn't remember clearly, my body did, a sick weight in my chest telling me that this was where she had gone, and that maybe I was part of it. Maybe I watched or lied or just stayed quiet, but the house hadn't forgotten, and when I leaned over the well, something in the dark below moved, shifting the air around me as a voice that sounded like my own whispered, "Come back down." And then something grabbed my wrist. Wet, cold, inhuman, and I pulled away so hard I fell backwards, hit my head, and everything went black. I woke up in what I thought was the living room, but the windows now showed nothing but more of the house outside, endless rooms connected by corridors, staircases leading nowhere, and in every reflection I caught in the shattered glass, I looked older, worn, like I'd been here for years. The girl was everywhere now, sometimes just a shadow, sometimes standing silently at the end of a hallway, always watching, And once, I saw my grandmother sitting in her old armchair, smiling like she knew this was how it would end, and when I blinked, she was gone, replaced by my own reflection, grinning with too many teeth. I ran desperate, clawing through the halls, until I finally found the front door again. But instead of Forrest outside, I saw my childhood bedroom, exactly as I'd left it decades ago, and on the bed was a boy, me, drawing pictures of a house with red walls and black windows, and the girl standing in front of it. He looked up and said, "You said you wouldn't leave me," and I screamed, and suddenly I was outside, back in my car, the morning sun filtering through the trees, the house nowhere to be seen, the smell of mold gone, my phone dead and the clock blinking 3:33 a.m. I drove until I reached the nearest town and didn't speak of it again, told people I sold the place, that it was demolished. But every now and then I catch sight of something in mirrors. Just a flicker, a girl with wet hair watching from the corner, or a version of me that looks just a bit too slow to follow. And sometimes at night I still hear the scratching under the floorboards, and smell the cold, damp rot of a house that remembers everything I tried to forget.